All right, welcome back, everybody, to the spring playoffs in this quarterfinal between Splyce and Roccat. Now, Splyce, they were definitely the favorites, but they started off with a big win, and unexpectedly off the back of Nisqy.
Yes, wow. 12-0-2 on the kaSing. He had quite the performance in game one. I felt like that Splyce weren't able to properly use him as, to be fair, it's a little uncommon for Splyce to be, for Nisqy to be the one getting the leads, and I felt like they could have done a little bit more with him, but regardless, overall, he had a huge impact. His damage was fantastic. He was able to rack up a lot of kills, and we kind of want to see this performance from him continue, because if he can improve, then one of the big weaknesses, quote unquote, that we believed Roccat could look to attack might not be a weakness anymore.
Yeah, maybe Splyce not done growing just yet. Now, Roccat have the side selection for this game. They picked themselves the blue side, so we'll see the same sides. And so far, the same band, Swain, kaSing, all removed.
Exactly that, Pyre. Seems like we're seeing a bit of repetition. Now, the big thing for Roccat is I felt that they had good macro, poor execution. That was kind of the TLDR for me with regards to that game. So I think that if Roccat recognized that too, they may look to go for a very similar draft and just look to try and execute upon said draft better. Now, is that the smartest move? Who knows? But to be fair, when you look at how the early game went for Roccat, everything seemed to go in their favor.
Yeah, there's the adaptation, though, is that Roccat decided to ban away the Scion, something that I know you feel pretty strongly that is a very blind pickable champion as well, and it's something Odoamne was pretty keen on.
But it also gives Blanc the opportunity to go for the Ryze. One of his big comfort picks, something he's had a lot of success on during the regular split, and Roccat have shown that they don't mind giving away the Caitlyn if they're allowed to get the Xayah and the Roccat. So I imagine that with the Xayah banned, they're going to be looking to first pick the Ryze, and Splyce will answer with a Caitlyn.
All right, let's see if you're correct, Vedius. You got 20 seconds. Ooh, maybe they mix it up here. Take Kobbe away from the Caitlyn, and they're going to lock it in.
Oh, okay, so predictions were slightly off. Does seem that they value it a little bit more.
I know that feeling.
With the Xayah being taken off the board, they see that Caitlyn is a higher priority.
All right, what is Splyce going to answer with? Remember, no Zac ban still, no Skarner ban. None of the jungle was really touched outside that Kha'Zix that Splyce banned away from Memento. So we'll see. They hesitated to pick it up in the very beginning last time, but here we go. Now, this is the Odoamne carry champion, Camille.
Now, Camille, she's pretty safe, pretty well-rounded, pretty strong. And I think they're challenging Profit's champion pool a little bit here because having chatted with a couple of pros, like, she does fine into things like Gnar. One of the big things that she does struggle with are champions like Swain and Vladimir. Now, with Swain taken off the board, I don't know if Vladimir is necessarily in the pool of Profit.
Aha, I see
and remember that Galio is up and available as well. So you have Camille, you have Zac, and wouldn't it be devastating if Splyce looked to round out their composition with a Galio when they're expecting Roccat to go for the Ryze?
Well, this could be scary if Roccat allow it. Let's see what they pick. They've already got the Caitlyn. Do we see the Ryze for Blanc here? 7 seconds, taking their time on it. Norskaren's actually going to go back to a favorite of his, the Thresh. That's the bot lane complete, and it looks like the Ryze is in the cards.
So, Roccat secure themselves a very strong 2 versus 2. Thresh is something that Norskeren has been practicing a lot in solo queue, and expectations were that by picking it up, he would look to try and take advantage of the fact that kaSing plays a lot of range support, and he hasn't shown the greatest proficiency on many melee supports. So they're trying to force him onto the Braum where they can look to take advantage of him. Now, I feel like Splyce will look to round things out with the Galio. Nisqy had a great performance on the Galio during the regular split. I feel it's a comfort pick. I think it fits nicely with the comp, and I feel like it makes the most sense. But instead, they want to secure strong support for kaSing, because I was thinking that if they go for the Galio, then the next best ban for Roccat would be that Morgana, given that of all the range support, she would be the one that best handles the Thresh. But now Roccat have to ban the Galio. They have to deny that away from Splyce.
Not going to give the comfort over to Nisqy. Now, we've already seen that he has the ability to step up in some of those situations if he gets himself on a carry. We'll see if things change. We're into ban phase number 2, though, and starting out with the Skarner ban. Memento have not picked his jungler just yet. It's over to Roccat again.
You would imagine that Olaf would be next up for Splyce. It was Roccat that banned it away last game to try and thin out the jungle pool, but take that away from Memento and don't give him a strong early game playmaking jungle.
Yeah, might force him on something like the Sejuani that he's had honestly far and away more games than any champion on this split.
Limited success, though, unfortunately for him. Glad to see the Galio ban there from Roccat.
All right, adaptation, Vedius.
But I also just think it makes the most sense. Giving Galio over in that comp would be absolutely devastating.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Roccat now likely to ban away another AD carry. They might take Varus away from Kobbe. See, a part of me kind of thinks Jhin or Ashe could be something along these lines. We've seen a lot of Jhin kind of prop up over in EU, North America as well. But the Casio, so they're just actually trying to give Blanc the best mid lane matchup as possible.
Which I think makes a lot of sense considering he is a big win condition for them in the later stages of this game. They want to give him a good lane as well. We'll see what Splyce end up blocking in for Kobbe. He's shown a lot of success and a wide champion pool. So yeah, the Jhin, the Ashe could all come out. The Jhin makes a lot of sense here to just kind of match range for range. But the Varus is also up.
And just kind of hovering through every single pick that I talked about. Fortunately, they did go for the Jhin. I think that during the laning phase against Caitlyn, you do struggle a bit, especially with the kill pressure that a Caitlyn and a Thresh do have. Winning bot lane, I would imagine, secured for Roccat, but we do know that Jhin is a big favorite for Kobbe, and he has always been able to have very solid performances on it. So looking forward to what he can do with the pick. Roccat likely to round things out with a pretty safe jungle pickup with the Sejuani. Now, in terms of final picks, again, Vladimir would make a lot of sense. Ornn is another big one that I think would make sense for Prophet. Round things out with a teamfight composition for Roccat. Typically does well into the Camille as well, and has been one of Prophet's most successful champions in the later stages of the regular season.
Yes, it has. Wouldn't be surprised to see that one, but there's another tank that might be the lock-in here. We've got ourselves a Shen, so there's a lot of catch potential on this Roccat side now.
It's also 1-3-1 once again from Roccat. So they're kind of moving away from this teamfight style that, to be fair, they've had more success with during the regular season rather than trying to execute this 1-3-1. We'll see how they make it work this time around. Again, it's kind of important for Roccat to play through the bottom side of the map. They have the Ryze to use the Realm Warp, look for those roam opportunities. You also have the Shen ultimate to make plays and be active towards the bottom side of the map. And Shen typically does pretty well against Camille during the laning phase too. So I feel like Roccat, once again, have to play towards bot. They failed to execute very early on in game 1. It's important that they do so in game 2.
Yeah, and for the Splyce side, they've got a pretty mean team fight once again. When you look at some of the tools they have in their inventories, you've got the Xerxe with the Orianna ball delivery system. It's a classic team fight ability. The curtain call from the Jhin. Splyce could definitely go into the late stages of this game pretty confident in the guns they're packing.
And the big difference here for Splyce is they actually have a little bit more early game prowess too. Camille, why she can't necessarily trade super effectively against the Shen, because he does have that Spirit's Refuge to mitigate a lot of the damage. She does have good wave clear. Imagine that she'll go for an early Tiamat, have that push priority over the Shen, just be a nuisance in lane. Typically, Orianna does have the winning trades against Ryze, which we can talk a little bit more about once we're in game. But they have a couple more winning lanes that they can utilize to perhaps better support the bottom half of the map that will be struggling against the Caitlyn and the Thresh.
Yeah, very true. And I do want to see if Roccat can play more around that bottom lane, because we didn't really see a whole lot of Memento action down there, nor Prophet really. And both are going to be very well equipped to do it this time. And maybe that's the key to victory. Try to get HeaQ and Norskeren ahead in this game. Keep Kobbe kaSing down.
Yeah, Prophet, he was a little invisible in game 1. Let's see if he can have a larger impact on game 2. As Splyce, they secured first win, Pyra.
Yes, they did.
They currently lead the series, and Roccat, they definitely want to get themselves a win on the board and a shot at Copenhagen.
You're right to remind everybody what is on the line here. The team that wins advances to play in Copenhagen, at the very least, in a third-place match.
And as a reminder, should Roccat win, they are guaranteed to play against Fnatic. Should Splyce win, they are guaranteed to play against G2 in our semi-final. So those will already be determined after the game, but that depends on the outcome. As Splyce currently lead, and we are now on Summoner's Rift part.
Yes, we are. Very conveniently enough. So doesn't look like a whole lot of early game shenanigans, just like last time. kaSing does check a little bit with the forward brush action. HeaQ's not going to step forward to try and stop him. But it is going to be all in that early game. See what Roccat can do on the bot side.
Just looking across some of the keystones, seeing if there's anything a little bit suspicious. We see an unsealed spellbook sitting on kaSing. So he has the ability to be flexible with his secondary summoner spell. Typically, you see that on supports against Sejuani a lot, because Cleanse becomes very valuable in the mid-game. Things like an Exhaust can be a little bit harder to execute upon. But he still has that should full laning phase and a little bit of damage mitigation. Comet, not surprising from Odo, will give you a little bit more poke damage against the Shen, which is where a lot of the lane priority will come from. And this gives me an opportunity to talk a little bit more about this mid lane matchup, Pyra, because I absolutely love talking about Orianna versus Ryze. One of the great things about Orianna is she does exceptionally well against mid-range mages, rather, because the thing about her ball is what you'll notice is Nisqy will throw his ball typically around where the caster minions are, and then every time Blanc tries to come up and last hit, you just move up slightly, you stand behind the minion wave, you prevent Ryze from being able to trade against you, and then you just harass with the ball. And typically you'll win the vast majority of trades. Blanc will get chipped down a lot. The Aerie really helps with that as well, because you typically go for poke chip damage in the lane rather than kind of burst. And basically, this is what allows you to have a lot of pressure and win out a lot of trades against Ryze in the early laning phase.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of trouble. And it's crucial for Blanc to honestly find a way to overcome this, whether he has help or not, because Blanc is just so critical to his team when they actually pick up these wins. Look at that difference. Like, it's not like he's hard feeding or something when they lose, but his impact is sorely missed when they don't.
Exactly that. When this team sets up Blanc for success, then he really has a huge impact on the game. And you can already see, even though Orianna should have better control during the laning phase, he's not afraid to just walk up, apply pressure, because he knows where the enemy jungler is. Look at the minimap. Memento already invading. His smite is just about to come up. Will not be able to secure it. Xerxe walks away. But due to the extra pressure gained, Blanc was able to find that bit of a sneaky trade in mid. Fascinating stat about Blanc. He actually has the highest first blood percentage of any mid laner in the league, which basically means that if kills are happening for Roccat in the early game, he is the guy that's usually involved with them. Yeah. And this is why we talk so much about him being like a big team fight threat, and why if you set him up, he does a lot with the leads that he gets.
Now, that's one of the reasons why Roccat try to play around him as much as they can. We see that signature Roccat vision control coming out on the river on the bottom side in the jungle as well. Trying to keep Kobbe and kaSing down, not give him really an opening here. Scuttle vision is well completed. So Memento's really been doing work. He wasn't just stepping in to try and steal away the blue buff. He also made sure that he was going to have eyes on the entirety of the Splyce jungle.
I mean, we talked a lot about Roccat and their vision control. These guys love to ward. Second in the league for ward plays per minute and control wards purchase per minute. So even with Tracker's Knife removed, Roccat showing, you know what, you can still keep the map very visible.
You got trinkets, man. You don't need
exactly that. So pretty good on that. Not that many early control wards for the time being. A lot of vision invested towards the bottom side of the map. And as we said, we're not expecting a huge amount of action to happen within like the first 5 minutes. And as I say that, Blanc already roaming up towards the top side.
You might find out Xerxe. They're going to check and find each other in that brush. He definitely has his eye on that blue buff. Spends a couple of mana to get the combo off, and it's not going to be enough to really take much more than a bite out of Xerxe's health bar.
Blanc using the window that he generated in mid because he had the TP. Went for a bit of a sneaky roam up top, see if he could get maybe a summoner spell out from Odo. Unfortunately, was not able to. And level 6 is where I feel like we're going to start seeing a little bit more action.
Yeah, now teleport obviously not up just yet, but Nisqy doesn't even have it because he's played with the cleanse, trying to keep it as clean as he possibly can. Do want to see if they decide to head back down towards the bottom side for Roccat. Now, meanwhile, Prophet actually has to spend a Shadow Dash just to get away from Odoamne.
He messed up the Spirit. He didn't call his sword back, which meant that he didn't actually have the Spirit's Refuge on top of him, which meant that he ended up losing out on a trade. Unfortunate. Odo doing a good job of getting the push here. You can see that he's built up a pretty healthy early CS lead. I mean, the obnoxious thing about Camille is she typically does well into every lane matchup, aside from what I've been told. It can be pretty rough against things like a Vladimir and a Swain.
Vladimir was left up,
but the cool thing about yeah, but that's when we talked about the champion pool thing, right? Like, Prophet doesn't really fit within his wheelhouse, not something that he's actively played a lot, which is why Splyce were more than happy for him to blind pick the Camille during the draft. You can see there's the early Tiamat we talked a little bit about in draft as well. Will give you a lot of push because Shen doesn't really have a lot of wave clear. He's very single target focused. And a couple of pings focusing on the middle lane will mean that Memento looking for a potential gank opportunity. I like the cleanse being picked up for Nisqy. Does make it harder to lock him in place. One of the big things about Orianna is she has no escape, so in the event that she loses her flash, it's very easy to gank her multiple times.
Yep, Norskeren getting a binding at max range there, but he's well under tower. A lot of pings now onto Memento. Xerxe keeping him track. And of course, as we watch this game, we always want to hear what you guys think and what the desk can answer. your burning questions. Just send them away.
Make sure you go ask the experts, go on to Twitter, ping
Hashtag.
the lobby. Yeah, hashtag pin the lobby. Make sure you have any desiring questions. It could be, for example, why is it that Cold is so much more handsome than Deficio? I mean, I certainly like
It's a very good question, actually.
I think it's a great question, yeah. You guys should go out and ask that, if you're interested, of course. Now, looking at the minimap, kaSing moved towards mid lane. I think he wants to help clear out some of the vision around the river. Like that Blanc has so much control over this middle lane right now, even though the farm is relatively even. Norskeren going to match what kaSing is looking for.
Blank's got to be careful. That binding over the wall, here it comes. It's not going to land on him. Very close. Blanc knows exactly what's up. Norskeren's also matched the roam.
Yep.
A lot of wards once again in this river. Norskeren's going to walk through a few of them. Walk right back away. Still want to see this action down on the bottom.
Here we go.
Memento
Mementos, yeah, exactly that. The ulti is available for Prophet. Doesn't have TP. Jhin is by himself, but Memento lying in wait. It's going to be spotted now.
Okay, Jhin immediately starts walking back. He knows exactly what's up. So this means that he unfortunately can't get the gank off. Instead, they're just going to be able to send a few more minions towards the turret.
You can definitely see that Roccat playing much more towards the bottom side of the map. Splyce respecting the engage potential. A little surprising that Kobbe is doing so well in terms of farm, considering he is playing the Jhin. Can be a little bit rough during the early laning phase, especially against the Thresh and a Caitlyn, but props to him holding it. Now Xerxe, recognizing where the enemy jungler is, immediately heads towards the enemy blue buff and says, you know what, I will take this. Or rather, I will give it to one of my laners, potentially in Odoamne, to give him a little bit more poke during the laning phase.
He'll help him out there.
He's going to take it for himself.
He's going to take Gromp and the blue buff. Wow, double dipping. Memento's going to match it on the opposite side, though. I thought maybe this is where they start to go for the Infernal Drake that spawned first this game, but instead they just get the blue buff for Blanc.
Yeah, a little risky to go for it this early on into the game. You've got to remember that Drake does also do a lot of damage.
That's true, especially that one.
You don't have very much damage.
Yeah,
because
it breathes
you've only got
fire.
an item. Yeah, exactly that. So
A lot more than the guys that breathe water.
respect just being shown from the side of Roccat. They don't need to gamble anything too early. Ideally, they either want to force enemy bot lane back before they try and get an early Drake, or they secure that bot tower.
Right. Now, it's not a massive CS lead for the Caitlyn, but HeaQ does have the BF sword to work with. Compare that to the serrated Dirk that Kobbe's packing right now. He's not going to be able to do quite as much damage. And I feel like if anything happens to this 2v2, it's going to be on the back of kaSing or Norskeren.
I feel like right now they're just doing their best to survive the laning phase, because HeaQ and Norskeren, they ideally want to get this bot tower as early as possible. But because they're not getting enough support from the Shen and the Sejuani, it's extremely difficult for them to actually threaten it. They're afraid of potential Zac ganks from over the wall. Right now, they can't even go near the wave because kaSing by himself is just maintaining control over the river, over the brush. And they're too afraid of it. But they see where Zac is now, still playing extremely far back. And again, this early game kind of going the way in which Splyce won. Roccat not effectively able to play towards their win condition.
Yeah, well, we haven't seen Memento make a lot of moves down there. There was the one attempt, and of course, Prophet hasn't really made a trip down either. Of course, he's been keeping pretty busy with Odoamne, but Blanc is going to step right into Xerxe, so there's the gank in the mid, gets pulled back in, rooted on, but there's the Shen shield as he gets bounced back. Memento comes forward looking for Xerxe. They're going to pull in 3 with the command Shockwave, but not enough to get a kill.
Odoamne interrupted Prophet's ultimate. The shield was able to get through, though, does give Blanc the safety. A couple of summoner spells were used on the side of Splyce. Xerxe forced to flash out. Aside from that, still everything very, very even, and Odo just continuing to be a nuisance.
Odo is unleashed right now.
Oh, here we go. A very classic Splyce move. Move up to, or at least it has been over the last few weeks. Xerxe moving up. Nisqy not too far behind.
Just outside the vision.
Looking for a potential dive here on the top side.
Oh, Prophet knows this is coming. He's going to have to play one hell of a taunt if he wants to get out alive, but he's going to get bashed back and forth. The Shadow Dash, the TP's up, and that's going to be it.
They still get the TP out from Blanc, though, so still a big win hit for Splyce, even if they can't secure a kill. Nisqy will be able to get a good push off in mid, and then he can go back to base, spend a little bit more of his gold, and he won't be too far behind. But so far, Roccat not been able to execute very much in the early game. The Shen ulti is down, TP is up for Prophet. Oh, and Xerxe, he might be looking for a return gank up top.
All right, just inside the fog of war. Prophet could be in trouble down low, but Memento's coming as well. There's the Tauntaun flashing away, and in comes Memento. X-Tech ultimatum popped, looking for Prophet, trying to two-step it out. Xerxe under tower, secures first blood, and he is going to get popped into blobs. Let's see if Memento can polish him off before Odoamne turns back around, tries to cut him into ribbons. The TP is on, and he's going to save the life of his jungler.
Good play there from the Romanian duo. Ulti coming out from Ryze. Can he find a pick?
It's just Blanc. This is pretty heavy investment. Flashes forward, goes for it, and he's going to be able to knock Xerxe down to 0.
So at the very least, Roccat trade 1-for-1, but the Shen ends up going down. Splyce giving a couple of early advantages over to Odo, while also preventing Roccat from playing towards their win condition. Good effective early game so far from Splyce. Fortunately for Roccat, Blanc gets himself an early kill.
Yeah, that's the important thing there. He flashes forward, he realm warped in to try and make it happen. Heavy investment, but he secures it in the end. And you can see while it was all going on, Nisqy decided to go into the Splyce jungle, just see what was going on there, and he almost got inside of Norskeren, who was roaming through. Bot lane's been really quiet once again, though. This is not what we expected, not what we were hoping for from the Roccat side.
And, you know, we talked so much about the win conditions for Roccat. But, you know, we had to recognize that here for Splyce, their whole goal was to just not let this happen. They didn't want Roccat to get ahead in the early game. They didn't want to allow the Shen to make TP plays bot. And they did a good job of maintaining early river control so that they could keep an eye on when Memento might look for an early gank bot side. But then they started investing ganks up towards the top, and this makes it even harder for Profit to really get involved in the bottom lane. So the ideal scenario for Splyce now is that with all the poke damage they've got onto this tower, they'll look to try and trade towers should their bot lane get very, very low. So this is simply, ooh, nice heal there that Xerxe was able to pick himself up. Good use of the teleport to buy enough time. Memento realizes he doesn't have enough mana to keep the kill going. Blanc does roam up from the middle lane, given that, again, he gets back to mid much sooner than Nisqy does. He then flashes over, makes sure that Odoamne can't get in the way, and is able to trade back a kill.
Yeah, clean up duty, but it's going to be useful later on in the game. However, right now what's going on is HeaQ is getting popped by Xerxe. Shen shield coming out, and they're going to back away at the end of it. Looks like it was canceled once again, but the shield was still there. Norskeren going to get the hook on, but Zach is bouncing away.
Oh, Splyce playing this early game exactly the way they need to. Once again, Profit gets interrupted. They are also able to force the Shen out defensively rather than allowing Roccat to use it to make plays happen. This means that Splyce can continue to stall, they can get to the mid game, they can set up for these team fights that they want to try and force onto Roccat. And Roccat, once again, they seem to understand what they need to do, but then they just cannot execute upon it.
Yeah. Splyce, just their experience shining through right now. Memento and Xerxe were in for a bit of a jungle tussle in that river, but Blanc's going to join to try to even out those odds. Xerxe hopping away. Shockwave going to pull in too. They got the Glacial Prison off, and over follow-up damage onto Xerxe, and the hook is going to go wide on Nisqy. Roccat do chase Splyce out of the river, but they don't get any kills for their trouble.
Splyce, for now, just holding onto the line. Roccat looking for any kind of opportunity at this point to get themselves a couple more early game leads. In fact, they were approaching 15 minutes, and this bot tier 1 still has not got down for Roccat. Is definitely a thing that they need to be worried about. Scaling coming in for Nisqy. Interesting that Kobbe actually decided to go for a very early Ghost Blade rather than the traditional Essence Reaver that we do see. You can already see that armor coming out from the top lane. Going to be less effective, but naturally will give you a stronger mid-game spike due to the lethality.
There you go. I missed when it was called Armor Pen.
Yes.
A little bit easier to say. But yeah, it's been impressive that Kobbe has been able to match up the pressure from HeaQ and Norskeren. In fact, even at that small CS lead, means that he's able to complete an item first. And Profit dodging away on the hook shot up top. He's been effectively neutralized this game by Odoamne, just having his way with him. A little bit of help from Xerxe occasionally, but we just haven't seen that pressure getting matched. So Roccat, they're going to be hard-pressed to try and get ahead this game, considering they haven't been able to play around the bottom side at all.
I agree, Pyra. Looks like Roccat actually playing towards top side. I don't know how well this is going to work out for them. They do have the Realm Warp. Here it goes.
Blanc's going to bring Memento, or actually just himself. And Odoamne's going to hop over, looks for Memento, trying to make his great escape over the wall. If he gets out of this, this would be legendary, but a flash forward by Blanc maintains. But that's not going to happen. Memento picking up a kill on Odoamne.
Now, because Ryze is on the top side of the map, Nisqy can move down with his team to help secure an early Infernal Drake. All of the pressure has been put onto Profit, so it's not like Roccat can trade a tower in their favor. So instead, they'll just have to trade a kill for an objective. And remember, Splyce drafting themselves team fight. They're going to be more than happy to take this objective up because they know that the longer this game goes, the more value they're going to get from it.
Yeah, nice reaction from Splyce, even though their top laner couldn't get out alive to be able to make that play. you can see the difference between game 1 and 2. Xerxe very active in game number 1 around his laners. This time, a lot less so, but he's still getting stuff done.
Yeah, he's focused a little bit more on top side, trying to control a little bit more of the vision. But here we are. Odo, I mean, this is a little bit of a surprise game. Yes, Ryze was missing, but he's confident that he can get out of this situation once he recognizes, Memento is here as well. He decides that he has to back away. And then he ends up losing his life. Now, a bit of a fight in mid lane.
Ooh, all of a sudden, things got hot and heavy right now. Looking for Nisqy. Let's see if they can find the damage. Blanc, Prophet, Memento all on top, but the Shockwave gonna pull back through. Meanwhile, Norskeren is getting chunked out. Odoamne claiming the kill for this one. Roccat there split on their targets, and Blanc is going to get down for the double. Odoamne picking up 2 right now.
Splyce find a team fight in the middle lane after trying to siege down the mid-tier 1. Not sure how they were even in a position to set this one up, but another early advantage game. That will be the first tower of the game. And now, already, things starting to swing in the favor of Splyce.
Oh, yes, indeed. Odo is more than happy with the fact that he just picked up 2 kills after giving one over to Roccat in a 1v3 situation. Excellent team fighting from Splyce once more. And they're also going to be able to net a tower in the top.
Camille takes these towers so quickly. The Rift Herald could be up for grabs to Roccat. Again, it's a story of they seem to have the right game plan in mind, yet they cannot properly execute upon it. And Splyce, their execution seems to be second to none. And we can see how this fight kicks off. So after the roam up top, Blanc then goes back to base, Splyce group up mid to siege, and Roccat want to defend. So they use Norskeren with the Shen ultimate to try and force a play. Good Black Shield keeps Kobbe alive, and then the target focus is on Nisqy. But then the moment Odo TP's in, he kind of splits Roccat apart. And these kind of, the use of Odoamne to threaten the backline, to allow Kobbe and Nisqy to just focus whoever's in front of them, makes it easy for Splyce to get the turnaround, to get 2 towers, and overall win out on the fight.
Excellently played there by Splyce overall, and this is once again experience shining through. They know what to do. We talked about this when we were looking at this match ahead of the week. Roccat, they do have game plans, but when it doesn't go according to that plan, they do look lost.
They certainly do. Roccat, they're not the greatest team at being able to come back into games. We'll see if they can change that one up this time round. But you got to remember that Ryze, he kind of struggles in the late game. He will definitely be outscaled in terms of teamfight value to an Orianna. HeaQ, definitely a big late game threat, but you're going up against a Camille and a Xerxe that are going to look to dive onto your backline, and against the Thresh, there's only a limited amount of heal that can be provided. So late game fights heavily in favor of Splyce. Roccat, they're going to have to find some early towers and see if they can find a couple of picks. Even then, like, look at Kobbe. He's at 2 items already. Static Shiv, plus the Ghost Blade picked up.
Yeah.
This is one scary Splyce already.
It looks like Splyce are pretty much in favor for the mid-game fights as well, since we're getting closer to that 20-minute mark, and it doesn't hurt that they've also got the Infernal Drake. Roccat, at the very least, can knock down a tower. That certainly helps. Rift Herald's been popped in the mid. Nisqy and Xerxe joining to try and polish this one off, and there's nobody there to defend. Oversight on Rockat's part means that Splyce are going to be able to take the big move.
Pretty big, because now they can just quickly rotate top. Someone has to stay mid to clear out the Rift Herald.
Oh boy. Odo trying to find Prophet. Tax Sweep finds nobody. But yeah, Splyce just roam. And they're able to find a lot of damage. The mini wave marching forward here and pretty much unopposed because Prophet can't really do anything to try and stop him. Norskeren looking for a cheeky hook. Nothing going to happen here. While Memento is still occupied trying to clear away the Rift Herald, Splyce just get everything they want. It's 20 minutes. Are they going to try to bait out a Baron? No.
No, I think it would be pretty risky. If anything, do you remember the last time Splyce played Jhin and then went up against Vitality? Go fight!
Okay, they baited out Blanc, that's for sure. Okay, Curtain Call is on to the Hextech Ultimatum. Means that he is not getting out of there anytime soon. Odo follows him to the ends of the earth.
And this will be a free blue buff. Classic mid lane punish. Mid laner, all they care about is blue. They have their eyes dead set on blue buff will be mine. He thinks the Splyce have backed off, they've gone back to base, they want to reset, but they were lying in wait. So not only do they take his blue buff Pyra, but they also take his life.
Excellent. Yeah, Roccat, definitely things looking a little grim for them. Here's how Blanc gets caught.
So he's like, good, they could be here. Oh, they are here.
He flashes,
he
gets the lantern, and then Odo.
The timing from the Odo ultimate. It followed him to the ends of the earth. And the Black Shield as well was still on top, which meant that Norskeren couldn't even hook him in.
Odo is like a machine, man.
Both literally and figuratively.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, quite correct. But he's really stepping up in this one, and this is why we were so excited to see Odoamne once again playing on these carry champions. He also just generally seems to kind of relish it. In his time on H2K, that was always the most highlight kind of plays when we saw him on champions like this Camille. Now Prophet will get a taunt under the tower as they try and trade back and forth, as Odoamne maybe bit off a little more than he could chew as he turns around with that Airy. Big precision protocol. But he's fine, he's out. He hooks shots. There's no way Prophet can catch him.
From Odo. He tried to use his stun onto Prophet, didn't quite land. Therefore, he ends up getting torn in the tower. Now we see Xerxe once again. The roaring remaining duo. Oh, Torn gets used.
There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. And it looks like the ultimatum is going to get popped down under tower. They don't care about that damage. Xerxe hopping out and claiming the kill. He doubles down on to Prophet.
He's going to tank the tower as well to keep that cannon minion alive. Nisqy now moving up towards the top side to catch the wave. Roccat, they're just giving more and more over in favor of Splyce.
Losing map control, trying to keep up the vision, but it's just not helping right now because Splyce can throw their weight around so much more effectively on this map. A dragon is going to go the way of them. This is the new and improved Cloud Drake.
Yes. Yes, it is. Now it just gives you movement speed. 2%, I believe, is the value per Cloud Drake.
Goes up when you are out of combat, of course.
Yes, yes, it does. Now, Splyce, they will look to set up around the Baron. They've got to be careful, again. Jhin, not very fast at taking Baron.
Or, you know, any objective.
Yeah, so, because he only has the 4 shots, they got to be careful.
It's very inefficient of an AD carry to have only 4 shots.
I always like to think that he's using a revolver, you know? It's
but
powerful.
what revolver has 4 chambers?
Well, okay, it's a special Jhin one. But you've also got to remember that the 4th shot, like...
is big.
It basically, like, removes a limb. So, yes, I can see the advantages and drawbacks.
Yeah, it's bazooka.
Yeah, exactly that. So I think that it's just something that Splyce have to be considerate of. Orianna, pretty good. Relatively low cooldown. Interesting build, going for the Morellonomicon second. I guess he wants that early penetration, which I can kind of understand given how far ahead Splyce are right now. There's a lot of armor stacking as well because Roccat is so afraid of both Odo and Kobbe.
Rightly as they should right now. I mean, it's pretty terrifying what Odo has been able to accomplish, and the rest of Splyce kind of right at his back. Pretty easily able to keep everything dark on this map. They could be starting Baron right now, and Roccat would be none the wiser.
But I don't think they want to. I think they just want to look for a pick. Morgana wishes to tell them a tale. Unfortunately, if she lands a Dark Binding, she can probably read the book 3 times before it is over.
I might die before that happens.
That might very well happen.
All right, Odo splitting on the bottom side. This is what you can do, of course, with that Camille. It's really hard, just like last game, for Prophet to really match up against him. The difference is at least it's his opposite laner that he's having trouble dealing with. All right, rooted in place is Norskeren. They pop him down. There's a lot of damage coming out of the Jhin. 4-shot flashing, and Kobbe with a style opens up the curtains to try and take down Memento. That's 2 shots landing. There's nowhere for him to go. Pulled back. They just spend in every single ultimate they have because they know they can take him out. And with the jungler gone, the support out of there, it's going to be time for Baron.
See, it might be only 4 bullets, but that's all he needs. Kobbe flashes in, secures the final hit onto Norskeren with both jungler and support dead. Splyce very easily move towards the Baron, and they're going to get it extremely clean.
This is looking like one of those very clean, collected Splyce games where they get the lead, they keep the snowball rolling, and there's just no way back for Roccat. They could be on the brink of the 0-2. Let's see that play one more time.
Okay, so Norskeren, he tries to throw the hook out. This is a cool combo that you have with Morgana and Jhin. The pool applies a bit of damage. Very easy for Kobbe to then land the W because he's locked in the animation. And there's the big crit, 524. And then just look at the chain CC coming out. kaSing lands the binding. He has the ulti. You have the knockup from the Xerxe as well. The ultimate from the Nisqy too. It's just overkill, really.
Yeah, well, but they're not getting punished for it. You know, burning those ultimates hasn't.
They got rewarded.
Yeah, they got a Baron. They got 2 kills. They are very happy with what's going on right now.
Splyce 9,000 gold in the lead. Roccat crumbling under the pressure. Here goes a fight though.
Norskeren once again, he's deleted off the map. This time it's courtesy of Nisqy and the shockwave, but Odoamne senses his time is now to go in looking for HeaQ. The double kill though, it's Nisqy that picks it up, and a sweep. It looks like Odoamne is going to grab one for himself. It's only Prophet and Blanc remaining. Splyce are running all over Roccat.
Oh my god, Splyce, they don't even have any minion waves anywhere, so they can't push anything.
They can tank
now
the tower.
They've got themselves one yet. Xerxe is going to tank it up, keep those minions alive, take the mid inhib. Odo's going to be pushing down in the bottom lane. Everything going in favor for Splyce right now.
Oh yeah, it's all coming up. 26 minutes on the clock. 10 kills to the 2. A massive gold lead for Splyce once more. Their experience is shining through. Everything that they've been building towards right now, it has all come together for this team. And Roccat, they just don't have an answer. The game plan's gone awry twice now.
That's the best sum up I could probably say myself, Pyra. Roccat, they come in with a game plan. It's very obvious what they want to do, and they cannot execute upon it. And let's just have a look back at this fight. Splyce are just so overwhelmingly ahead, binding lands. Nisqy says, aha, now you dead, and he be gone. And then Odo comes in from behind. This is what we're talking about. Really difficult for HeaQ to survive against a level 16 Camille.
That was pretty good team fight calling, by the way. You ever tried play-by-play?
No. I'm not a Yelly person.
Ah, okay.
Looks like
could be a high volume
either.
Yeah, Memento is, I mean, he's having a hard time. This is a guy, remember, he sees himself as the leader of this squad. They do listen to him. He's making the play calls, and if things aren't going according to the plan, he's going to feel the most of the pressure.
Yeah, and I feel like that when you're in this kind of a situation, you need to be willing to take a couple of risks, but unfortunately, Roccat, this is kind of one of the weaknesses. They don't really have that star playmaking power. You know, you look at someone like an Odoamne, he will take a risk. He will be looking to kind of make that gamble. But when Roccat, they fall behind like this, they keep trying to take the 70-30 plays. They don't want to have the potential of everything falling flat on their face when there's still a risk or an opportunity for them to win. And then it ends up in these kind of situations where, especially a team like Splyce that know exactly what to do with their lead, they just keep the pressure going, they slowly rip you apart. And now they have a 13,000 gold lead. Only one inhibitor is left to take out, and then the Nexus will be in their eyes.
Looking to close this one out before 30 minutes chimes in here. That's the tower going to fall. Roccat, this best of 5 has been a trial by fire. But can they keep it together? Can they hold strong? Their base is in shambles right now. One last desperate fight. Looks like that's all they're going to get before game 3, and match point comes up. The curtains have been called. The shockwave, the wombo of the combo, and they're going to pull it all right back in. Double kill going the way of Nisqy. That's his 5th on the game. kaSing flashing for the point blank. Finding Blanc is already going to get knocked back into the fountain. Trying to get the heal. Going to flash right back into it, and that is going to be all she wrote. One tower falls. The second is not long for this world. And it's not even 30 minutes on the clock. Vedius Splyce are flexing their muscles, and we have gone to match point in this quarterfinal.
Splyce, much more convincing than in game 1. They shut down the win conditions of Roccat. We didn't really get to see a single proactive use of the Shen ulti.
Or really a Memento ult either.
Yeah, and it all came down to like the effective early game plays that we saw from Splyce. We saw a lot of ganks towards the top side to prevent Profit from really being involved. And then we saw active ganks in both mid and bot from Xerxe that forced Shen ult to be used defensively rather than proactively. Basically limiting the amount of use that Roccat could get by playing two bot sides. And then the moment that Splyce had that early lead, they knew they had the stronger team fight. They knew that they approached the mid game and late game in a better way. And then they just kept forcing fight after fight, and by no surprise, they ended up winning them.
Yeah, I mean, it was another just outclassing in terms of being able to execute on what they wanted to do, being flexible and adaptable. And again, Roccat, they've got to go back to the drawing board. It's the second time we've seen this 1-3-1s type of composition really not pan out for them.
Exactly. I feel like they either now do something wild, crazy strategy, either go full ham, pull the surprise, or they just try and draft more for team fighting. And then if they're going to have more of these slow early games, then they look to try and out-team fight Splyce. That could be a potential way for them to get out, but this comes back into the whole difference in experience. 2-0 up, you imagine Splyce feeling calm, feeling collected, feeling ready and primed to move on throughout the rest of the series. But for Roccat, you have to wonder how it's going to affect their mental state now, because they need to get the win, otherwise they're out, and they have to get a reverse sweep in order to do it.
Yeah, now that would be one hell of a story. We have seen some strange things happening in this split, but no more of that best of 1 nonsense. It's best of 5. It's all about adaptation. Splyce are so confident that they can do it right now. Roccat, let's just see what they've got. I want to see them go back to that team fight, because that was the comfort level. That is what they were getting wins with.
Yeah, and I feel like that maybe if we'd seen the Ornn, it could have been a different story for them. They would have had a couple more engaged tools, but in the end, they ended up falling behind once again, and they need to change things up if they want to try and challenge Splyce in our first quarterfinal.
You are quite right. Now, tonight marks Odoamne's 7th appearance in the EU LCS playoffs, and what a momentous occasion it is for him. After the break, we're going to have it look back at the Romanian top laner's history in the league and see if Splyce can lock their spot in Copenhagen.
Let's see if he can have a larger impact on game 2. As Splyce, they secured first win, Clara.
Memento's coming in as well. There's the taunt on flashing away, and in comes Memento. Extec ultimatum popped, looking for Proc, trying to two-step it out. Xerxe under tower, secures first blood.
Ulti coming out from Ryze. Can he find a pick?
Just Blanc. This is pretty heavy investment. Flashes forward, goes for it, and he's going to be able to knock Xerxe down to 0.
A lot of damage coming out of the Jhin. Or shot flashing, and Kobbe with a style. Opens up the curtains to try and take down Memento. That's 2 shots landing. There's nowhere for him to go, pull back. They just spend in every single ultimate they have because they know they can take him out.
We give up you, yeah.
One tower falls, the second is not long for this world. And it's not even 30 minutes on the clock. Vedius and Splyce are flexing their muscles, and we have gone to match point in this quarterfinal.